On. Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the April HAS monthly meeting. My name's Bob Sewell. I'm the president of the society, and I'd like to introduce you to our speaker this evening, Nicholas Bourgeois. Nick grew up moving around the country, but his family eventually settled down in Baytown, Texas. After studying anthropology at Louisiana State University, Nicholas moved to California, where he received a master's degree in world cultures from the University of California, Merced, and spent several summers studying Maya cave archaeology in Belize. He returned home to Texas and spent several years as a CRM archaeologist before joining the Texas Historical Commission as the site archaeologist for the Verner Hogg Plantation State Historic Site, the Levi Jordan Plantation State Historic Site, and the Sabine Pass State Historic Site. This evening, he's come to talk to us about disturbed archaeological sites, a tool for public archaeology education. Please welcome Nicholas Bourgeois. Over to you, Luke.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for that introduction. So yeah, as Bob said, I am the archaeologist for the Levi Jordan site, Verner Hogg site, and Sabine Pass Battleground site. My main job is to facilitate and manage the archaeology that happens at these sites, as well as to teach the public about archaeology. That I would say the latter side of that is the main goal of my profession right now, is to be what we call a public archaeologist. And what that really means is that I help people understand and show them how we get from things in the ground to what you see in a museum or what you read in reports, what you see on TV or documentaries, and all that stuff in between. And also allowing the public to participate as much as they want to as well. So yes, that here at the front is a picture of the Levi Jordan Plantation State Historic Site, and my talk will be focusing just on this site tonight. Yep, so let me rearrange some windows. Okay, and just a brief, very condensed history of this site. There's a lot more information that y'all can learn if you come down to our museum. But I definitely do not have enough time within today to talk about it all. I'm sure a lot of y'all already know this information, but a quick condensing of it all. The Levi Jordan Plantation site is about 70 miles south of our current location. It's in Bourgeois County. It's pretty much equidistant between the town of Bourgeois and the town of Sweeney. Levi Jordan arrived in Bourgeois County in 1848, and he purchased 2,214 acres, which is about half a league, from Samuel May Williams, who was the original recipient of the land grant from Stephen F. Austin. Samuel May Williams was Stephen F. Austin's clerk and secretary, and we don't know exactly why, but Levi Jordan decided to purchase only half of the league, and he purchased the back half, so not the half that actually has connections to the St. Bernard River. But like many other aspects of this site and all sites, there's things like that we'll just never know. We just have the end result of it all. When Levi Jordan arrived in 1848, he brought his family from the Arkansas and Louisiana state line, and his wife, Amelia McNeil. I'm sorry, his wife, Sarah Jordan, and their daughter, Emily McNeil, and her husband and their children. They also arrived with 9 enslaved individuals. Oh, and also forgot that Williams was also the translator for Stephen F. Austin. So if you look on the map, sorry, normally I have a pointer with but I forgot it. You can see the highlighted area red is the Levi Jordan half league. As of now, the state, we only own about 90 acres of that property. Everything else has been sold off to private individuals over the years. The Levi Jordan main house, we believe, was constructed or we know it was constructed in 1853 and completed about 1857. And we know that around this time period is when they started the plantation operations as well. And they didn't really keep good records at the beginning of the plantation in terms of when things were built, but this really cool find, and I believe it was in 2012, while they were raising up the house to repair or stabilize the house and remove the wooden posts that support the building, they were excavating the brick footings for the home. And they found an 1853 gold $1 coin embedded in the actual architecture, the masonry of the brick footing. And that's fantastic for us because we have a definite terminus post quem date, meaning the beginning bookend of a possible dating period, because they obviously could not have built that foundation and the house on top of it before 1853 because that coin did not exist. So we're really, really lucky to find something like this and actually get a solid date, because I'm sure, as y'all know, things like that don't really happen in archaeology very much. And we assume that during the 1850s is when the rest of the operation started, and they started to build the surrounding buildings. We know that there were several outbuildings, including what they call the boys' house. So that would be where the young men in the family would move to and live when they became of age. There was a building that operated as a post office for a short while, as well as a store. There was a small hospital building, and all these were written down or mentioned in various records. But as of now, the main house is the only original building on the property. Now, when they started the plantation, cotton was the first cash crop. And then they gradually transitioned to sugarcane sometime in the 1950s. And we know that across the highway, about maybe a quarter of a mile away, are the ruins of the two-story sugar house that would process the sugarcane into sugar for the plantation. And also around that area, we believe was the cotton gin, because, well, that was depicted on a historic map. But right now, those are on private property, so we just really know they're there. Some beginning survey work was done around the sugar house around, I think, the 2000s by Dr. Brown, but they never progressed beyond that. So hopefully one day we'll be able to go and do some more investigations around there. But as of now, that's where we are at with the actual processing structures. So to give you a sense of what the site looks like now, a lot of the archaeology had been done around the red polygons at the top. So block structures 1, 2, 3, and 4. Lots of surveying has been done between that and the plantation house, which is at the bottom of the screen, and also around the plantation house. But the bulk of the artifacts that we have in our museum, and I'll be talking about today, came from the block structures. Now, those block structures produced a good amount of both domestic as well as utilitarian artifacts. Here's an example of just some samples of the buttons, clay tobacco pipes, comb, coins. That little knobbly thing at the top, that is a black walnut husk, and there's several black walnut trees on the property, which is also interesting because I believe we're pretty much the southern end of their habitat, so it's great that we have those there, and I'll talk more about those in a moment. And then we also, like I said before, had plenty of utilitarian artifacts. To the left is a fragment of a plow blade, And to the right are various fence staples and barbed wiring. Now, again, that was a very, very condensed, detailed history of this site. If you want to know more, you can talk to me afterwards, or you can come down the site. But this brings me to what we're doing today. And as I said before, we are still doing research on the property, but it has more of a focus towards public engagement and teaching with the public. And we do that through two means. We do public excavations where we invite the public to come and help us dig. And we also do a lot of experimental archaeology. One program that will be starting sometime in the summer is a make your own brick program. And so the bricks on the plantation were all handmade by the people who were enslaved there. And a main goal of this program is to help teach, especially younger children coming in, how to sympathize with the people who were enslaved there through experience. And so by actively making their own brick by hand and knowing and getting understanding how complex the process is and how difficult it actually is, we're hoping that then they can see, oh, well, this is, an actual skill. This is a craft. This is art to produce an actual functioning brick that it needs to be proper dimensions and have straight sides. It's not just a simple task that someone can go out there and do. And so hopefully we hope that, people will come in, and those young children and maybe other old people as well would be able to understand the experience of individuals who were enslaved there through this small project, and help humanize the enslaved people who, frankly, a lot of history has not forgotten, but when we talk about people who were enslaved, a lot of that history was not recorded down to where you can learn about the fine-grained details of their lives. There's a lot of quantifiable data within that realm, and not too much information about experiences. So this is just a way to kind of bridge that link. I'm actually proud of these bricks up here on the left. Those are the ones that I made that finally survived. And this is experimental archaeology because we didn't have a textbook, or nobody bothered to write down the recipes that they used or how they made these bricks. We just knew that they made them. And clays are different all across the world, and they vary dramatically just across small sites like ours. And different clays require different temperament, different amounts of sand to become this actual physical thing that you can build a home out of. And this was fun for me because I got to try different clays around the area, different mixtures of sand, crushed up seashells, crushed up older brick mixed in, and eventually I got to something that actually was structurally sound. And now that I have the recipe, we'll be inviting people to come down. And on the bottom right is a picture of our beautiful kiln. And when people will come down and they'll make their bricks, we'll fire them off one day, and we'll just send out a message saying, hey, if you fired a brick during this day, please come by and pick it up, and a little souvenir they can take home. And they'll also be marked with a stamp showing something like maybe our site name or their own names, something to distinguish it from a historic brick, because we don't want people to think they're leaving with artifacts. I think I'd get fired for that. And we also have done black walnut die making. So this is my colleague Reese. And as I said before, we have several black walnut trees on the property, and we have found them within archaeological contexts. Now, black walnuts, the skin around the shell of the nut makes a fantastic dye. And it was a common dye used from early frontier times up until the late 1800s because it is easy to do, readily available, and it's a fantastic dye. Your hands will stay a tanned color for several days afterwards by doing this. And so with his program, he showed how it was processed, how you would boil down the flesh around the nut, and then dip various fabrics in it, and people would take home some bandanas and other textiles. Now that we have all that stuff out of the way, we can talk about the actual archaeology. So, while y'all are here, what y'all are interested in. And the fact that 30 years of archaeology has been going on at this site at first seemed like a burden, because what are you going to do with this stuff? Like, these sites are disturbed. And I'm sure, as y'all know, as soon as you excavate an area, you disturb the context. And all the valuable information, the stuff that we as archaeologists really love, is just gone. But there is also a great opportunity in education in this. Now, kids love to play in the dirt. I know I liked to when I was little. And that's how I first got into archaeology when I was very young, just playing around and finding really cool stuff in my backyard. And I would like to share that engagement with children, but it's difficult because when you're excavating at a site, you just can't start digging around and mully-holing everywhere and pulling things out because you're destroying the site. But what we did is that we went to an area that we know had been excavated about 30 years ago, and we knew they backfilled, so there would be artifacts like brick and nails and stuff in there, things that had been counted in the field and put back in the ground. And we gave them opportunity just to find, cool stuff in the ground, and they loved it. They were out there for 2 weekends at the beginning of this year, and especially that little boy down there, he was just so happy about every single brick that he found, even though he kept on finding brick after brick after brick, and well, it was great. And they also built a little house out of the bricks that centipedes moved into the next day. So that was a fun experience for them. But while all that was going on, we also had real archaeology taking place as well. So this map is a zoomed in on the block structures. You'll notice a orange square right here on the top of block 1. That is where the children were excavating in the already disturbed area. So that area already been dug up, couldn't do any damage there. But myself, my colleagues, and some people here in the room as well, we're over in block 3, where we established a new unit in the area that had not been excavated. And the main purpose of this excavation was to invite the community to come and see what it was like to be an archaeologist and to actually pull artifacts out of the ground. And because of all the years of past research and ground penetrating radar surveys and shovel testing, we were able to say with confidence that we're going to find something here. We're going to come down on the foundation of block 3, so the participants can have a rewarding experience. Because I'm sure y'all know it's not fun to spend all your time and energy in a hole that produces nothing. That's why I got out of CRM. I didn't want to do that anymore. And so we started digging. And sure enough, we came across the chain foundational wall for block structure 3. And we found square nails, oysters, bone, broken pottery, at least 1 butchered pig. Those are 2 pig's tusks at the bottom right of the corner. And, random scrap metal. Things that we expected to find, a mixture of both domestic and utilitarian artifacts. But the main purpose of this was not to see what was there, because we already had a really good idea of what was there, but it was to engage with the public. And I'm not sure how or if y'all know this, but our site is very, very unique for 2 particular reasons. The preservation there is really good. Not too many people had been there mucking around the ground and disturbing the context. Most of them have been archaeologists, and they recorded what they did, and so we have an idea what was already there, where they dug up. But the second aspect is the fact that in the surrounding community, there are descendants of people who were enslaved there, as well as the slaver family. And as an archaeologist, and this is a very unique situation and something that I'm very fortunate to be able to have in my professional life right now, because as was mentioned earlier in my introduction, I was originally a Mayanist working in Central America and studying the ancient Maya. And we would find things that we felt pretty positive we knew what was going on in these sites, and we knew what the artifacts meant and kind of a deeper meaning towards them. But we were never 100% sure because there's generally a 1,200-year time difference between us and the objects of our study. Even though we were working side by side with modern day Maya people who were archaeologists as well, they still had that time difference between their ancestors and them now. And we all know culture is not a static thing. It's always changing. It's always evolving. So even though my colleagues could have a better insight as what we're looking at, they were also still at a disadvantage too. But here at this site, with the community around us and having them come and excavate with us, they can help me out as an archaeologist because they can help me identify things in the ground that I would not even be aware of, a context that would not even resonate with me because I'm not a part of that culture. And I am coming at it from the perspective of a white male. So there might be something that would just be very innocuous to me that I wouldn't even notice and bother to write down. But if someone is there helping me from the community, they can say, oh, wait, no, Nick, this artifact over here is not just a benign, whatever thing. It's something that could be very important because we have something like this still in our home. There's still plenty of elements of that culture, the people who were enslaved at this plantation 160 or 80 years ago, odd, that still exists within modern day culture. And they still have been witnesses to family stories that might have been going around as well within their community, also within their homes, things that I would not have access to. And so it really is a fortunate situation that we are as archaeological community in, where we can, get insight into a culture that we are excavating and trying to understand better, and have descendants from who might have a better insight as to what we're looking at. And also being able to share those experiences with people too. It's just been very rewarding, and it's the direction we're going now with the site. We'll still continue doing research and archaeological research, but like I said, we're there to educate the public and to help remove that mystical veil that exists between archaeology and the everyday person. And all right, that's it. Sorry, I don't have a fantastic, amazing slide to end on. But are there any questions? Yes, sir.
Well, the state is not really into touchy-feely kind of ethnic stuff anymore. I mean, they're driving students off of the university campuses who want to explore their cultural roots and stuff like that.
Well,
Could you repeat the question for the Zoom folks?
yeah. So the individual, the man said that was asking, I guess not asking, but pointing out that the state's as steering away from the emotional side of, I guess, archaeology and many things. But I would say that, yeah, that is going on at the state level, but as a state employee, I'm not really going to comment on that. But what I can talk about is what we're doing at the site level. And it's within the bounds of what the state has approved, because we don't do anything that's unsanctioned by them. And like I said before, we're in a very unique position to where we have stakeholders at our site, community members, who are stakeholders in the sense that where they have a vested interest into what we talk about and how we talk about it at a different degree that you don't get at other sites, because there is that immediate connectivity. So I hope I answered your question.
University of Texas just disallowed the Native American Student Association from holding a dance at the university, which has been going on for a long time. And I was sort of shocked about that. The dance is being held for the first time on the 20th or 21st, not on a university campus.
And personally, I think that's a shame. You know,
Well, it's good that that's not affecting your site.
well, like I said, I think we're in that unique position where we have those people around us, and it's very empowering for us. And it's, for me personally, it makes it extremely rewarding as well, because there is that live human connection in a field that, in my experience, has been, well, dealing with cultures that have since changed dramatically, are no longer around in that form, or for whatever reason, don't exist at all anymore. And you're just looking at the remnants, the physical remains of those cultures, and trying to puzzle it back together. And you're gonna get a lot of stuff wrong if you're just looking at people's trash and the physical things that leave behind. But we all do that with understanding because we're archaeologists. But the greater public generally don't understand that. They think, oh, an archaeologist said this, archaeologist saw that. They'll take it as, truth. But at this site, we can show them, well, there's a lot more theory and a lot of stuff that we just don't know, that we would like to know, but we can't. But this is how we get from those concrete things we find in the ground to filling in the gaps of the more intangible sides of culture. Yes.
Some of the things that you found at Levi Jordan that were most interesting to you or most unexpected, or even some stakeholders shared some information with you that was particularly enlightening?
I would say nothing unexpected from my perspective, because like I said, in the excavations we've done so far, it's the same stuff. But having people come by and see the open unit, and when I tell them that, these bricks were made by people who were enslaved, and enslaved people set these bricks in the ground, and then they realize we're exposing that foundation. And if they were to go over there and place their hand on one of those interior bricks, them realizing I'm the first person since that enslaved person laid that brick in here to touch that brick, that's a very powerful moment. And you can see it resonate a lot with those individuals. And you can see the appreciation for history kind of sparks in their eyes. And it's something that happened to me in archaeology a long time ago, and I'm glad that I can actually see it happen in other people as well. Yes, sir.
Remember to repeat it for people on Zoom, but your slide said the sugar cane building was made in the 1950s or the 1850s?
Oh, 18. I might have said 19 or accidentally typed 19.
The slide also says 19.
Oh, my fault.
Second thing, there's several of us here in the audience and on Zoom who we were talking about it before you started. We were down there in 2018 digging up the slave quarters in Block 3, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any budget in the future to rebuild any of the slave quarters down there, the Berkmans?
Well, he asked if there was any budget to reconstruct the enslaved quarters at the site. There is no plan to do that. And I would argue against doing that for two main reasons. The first reason, and this is a thought that is common in archaeology, and I have with most reconstructions as well, is that you never know exactly what that building looked like. Because again, unless you have a photograph of it, but if you're just going off of what's on the ground, you'll never know exactly how it was. And the moment you build something and you say, oh, this is a replication of that building, you have created a static image of what that building is for the people who come and visit it. And it might be wrong. And in that case, you're just perpetuating incorrect information about a site. And again, that's also within the realm that average person just doesn't think about, because they don't think about history that way. They don't think about the impacts of what an actual structure means when it's been rebuilt and it's at a historic site. Or by average person, I mean like just a tourist coming through. And I think that is going into the area of being irresponsible with how you teach history and what you're teaching. But that being said, a real life model, something you can actually walk into, is a fantastic teaching method as well. It's something tangible there because everyone has an imagination to varying degrees. Some people can easily picture the building there, other people can't. So if you actually see something, that is really great. And my second point, and alternative I think is great for that, would be augmented reality, where you can make a 3D model and use your smartphone and kind of look at the landscape, and you can see, what you believe the structure looked like. And if you ever find information that would counter how you thought it looked, you can just quickly change it by changing the 3D model.
Another question for the second line is now, after we were down there, I did some research online. In the 1930s, they interviewed living slaves, people who were enslaved back in the 1860s.
Yes.
One of the pictures I came across that's on my phone was a couple in 1934 who were in their 90s, standing in front of a brick house that they've been living in for 70 years on the San Bernardino River.
Okay.
And it seemed like it was about a mile or two from Levi Jordan. And what I'm getting at is, was there a design that they were all using? Are there brick slave quarters up at Barnard Hall, or is there not?
There are brick foundations. And we, with the, yeah.
They all kind of like design being used. In which case, maybe somebody's got some that are actually still standing. The ones, if I'm remembering from Levi Jordan, were knocked down by the Great Hurricane in 1900. Were they not? Or,
that's,
or that.
it was one possible scenario that removed them. We don't know. There's no proof. No one bothered to write down like, oh, the buildings are gone for this reason. There are plenty of theories, and as far as I know, most of them hold water just as much as the next one. We'll never know, but that is a very likely situation that would knock them down. And with your regards to your question of a regular template for these enslaved structures, there was a regular template. What we see at the Varna hog plantation is called the double pen structure. And that is very common across the American Southeast. There's always, variations of it, and not everyone always followed that same template. So there are deviations from that, but mostly, yes, they're somewhere within or something like that. But they might have been brick at Levi Jordan's plantation, or they might have just been brick foundation with a wooden superstructure. We don't know, and I always like to be more on the conservative side when it comes to trying to recreate what structures look like, just because a lack of information. I like to leave it open to where things can change and interpretations can change once new information comes in, once new data appears in the future, because who knows what new techniques we'll have later on. But no, fantastic question. Thank you. Yes.
Two-part question. When are your next open up excavation days? Are there any on the calendar?
There are none on the calendar now, but they will be coming up soon because I still need to finish that unit.
My second part to that, when can BJS come down?
Y'all can come down whenever, and now that I know that there is willing participants, I will let y'all know. And for the audience out there as well, this information we will post on our Facebook page and our website as well for public excavations and all other future programs as well too.
Okay. Are there any more questions? I don't think there's any on the chat. Okay.
All right, well,
Thank you very much.
thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Nick. That was very interesting. I guess that concludes our meeting. We're going to have a little bit more social time here since it's a little bit early. So thank you very much for attending, you guys.